Okay, so I haven't been on here in a while. So welcome back. If you're watching this or when you're watching this, um, so yeah, I've been pretty busy for the last couple months, really the last few months, and see, it's a funny thing. I don't feel like there's been a whole lot to talk about. Like there's been a lot going on in the world, but at the same time, there hasn't been a whole lot going on in the world. Like yeah, things are starting to move in a different direction. So we've got, Trumpy back in office here in America, but it's like with that whole thing, it's time to be skeptical of him now. So that is a step in the right direction. It's like, politicians are scum, and it's like anyone who treats them like messiahs is fucking lost, So, some are better than others, some are slightly better than others. Some buy us time, some cause disruptions, and they disrupt like the big super wealthy psychopaths. So, you know, Trump does this to a degree, but it's like, he's a fucking jackass. Like, he talks about how, oh, my last term, I hired some bad people to be advisors. And it's like, and everyone's all excited about Trump's new cabinet. And it's like, well, yeah, of course he hired shitty people because he's totally like vain and superficial and like full of himself. It's like, I think he has trouble seeing people who are full of shit because he's so full of shit himself. Like, I think he does want to help this, to help out America, um, for egotistical reasons, and that's fine with me. It's like if someone wants to do something good, I really don't give a shit if they're doing it for egotistical reasons. So, yeah, it's like we got a new president, but it's like it's not really gonna change much. United States just went through a the second, well, no, it's first Pluto return. Pluto takes almost 250 years to go around to make one orbit. So Pluto is where it was at the end of 1776. So historians, even back in the ancient times, they observed that, dynasties, corporations, empires, forms of government, they last about 250 years. At the end of those 250 years, they collapse or they're reformed. They take on some sort of a restructuring. So when I say reformed, I don't mean like they become benevolent all of a sudden. It's like, nah, they go through a restructuring so that they can buy themselves another 250 years potentially. So that's America right now. So, and I've discussed this well, I haven't discussed it. This is kind of a one-way thing, but I've talked to you guys about this before. The America that we've known is over, but we could potentially have something really good in its place. But what that's going to cost us all is we're going to have to be able to let go, be able to let go of all the World War II nostalgia and, all that kind of shit. So, so yeah, a lot has happened, but then a lot really hasn't happened. People are talking about a golden age right now, and it's like, oh, it's like we're in the Trump golden age. He's kicking off a golden age. It's like, yeah, it's like I like what he did with the border. He shut down the fucking border on his first day in office. It's like, yeah, go Trumpy. That needed to happen. A lot of fat needs to get trimmed from the federal bureaucracy. We've got to stop fighting these stupid fucking wars overseas. So, yeah, I think he will do things to bring this Ukraine war to an end. But, he's still surrounded by psychopaths. So, like, let's say he was some sort of like, and I was gonna say, let's say he's some sort of perfect angel, sent by the gods. Well, I think he does have the gods behind him. That's how like his head didn't explode in Pennsylvania. Um, it's like, so yeah, I do think he does have the backing of the gods, but it's like it's still kind of sad that he's like one of our two only options for, to be the leader of the country. So, but anyway, he's surrounded by fucking psychopaths. Like, there's been a lot of buzz about Elon Musk lately. Um, you know, CNN and all this like this collapsing legacy media is like trying to say that, Elon Musk was like doing fucking Nazi salutes. No, he wasn't. The guy is like he's totally fucking autistic and goofy and he's kind of a retard. He's like Mark Zuckerberg. It's like he doesn't know he doesn't know how to like act normal, I guess you could say. And I hate that word normal, but he doesn't he's not very socially aware. That's a better way to put it. So he was giving a speech and he was tapping his chest and then he put his arm out. It's like it was this weird, awkward, spontaneous gesture. He's extremely awkward, not as bad as Zuckerberg, but he's fucking awkward. He's on the autism Asperger whatever spectrum. But so my point in bringing him up, for example, he's got this whole AI thing going on, and they want to replace all these people in government with AI, and it's like it's a new. He's basically gonna make money by piggybacking on the presidential administration, or at least that's his aim. And it's like, give me a fucking break, And this kid, he's grown up with this idea. So a lot of people don't know this, but Elon Musk, he was his maternal grandfather. The guy's name was Joshua Haldeman. You can look this up. So Joshua Haldeman is Haldeman. He was a Canadian. He lived way out in was it Saskatchewan, so in central Canada, like out in the plains. Like, what is that? I can't remember if Manitoba or Saskatchewan's further west, but it's north of like the Dakotas and Montana, so not a whole lot there. But anyway, Joshua Haldeman in the late 1930s, something like 1936 to 41, was a regional leader of Technocracy Incorporated. So Technocracy Incorporated is basically a think tank, and they were trying to lobby governments to set up technocratic utopia. So this is back in the 1930s. They're trying to do this. So they're trying. He was Technocracy Incorporated. I think the founder's last name was Scott, but they were trying to lobby governments to start building technocratic utopia. Which is going to be run by. It's going to be a tyranny of like scientists, engineers, and experts. It's like we have the tyranny of experts today. It's like we saw this all through the scamdemic, and it's like you're not allowed to have your own opinion and have your own observations because you're not an expert. So Elon Musk has grown up around this, and the grandfather relocated the family to South Africa, I think sometime after World War II. That was like a popular thing to do in the the British Empire, Commonwealth. People moved from Britain or Canada to places like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. Anyway, and that's Elon Musk's connection with Canada because his mother was born there, and he went to college there and the whole bit. So, Trump has that psychopath, that billionaire psychopath around him, you know, and he's got a whole bunch. I don't want to go into them all. I can't remember all their names, but you know, it's like a different flavor of bullshit. So it's like we just have to. People can't be Trump tards about this. It's like we all know about libtards. Well, there are fucking Trump tards too, you know. So keep your eye on them. But you know, the thing that really made me want to make this video today was this cold spell that we're having. So I live in North Carolina on the coast. I live in Wilmington, and we just got a snowstorm yesterday. They haven't had snow here in 7 years. You know, I've lived here for like 4.5. So, you know, we got like 4 inches of snow. It's like it shut I'm on my second snow day today. You know, it's shut the town down for 2 days now, probably another couple of days. Um, New Orleans, people were like skating down the street in New Orleans. There's so much fucking ice. Um, the Gulf Coast of Texas, you know, is under like winter storm warning. So this is highly unusual, you know, and it's like people bring in the whole climate change thing, and it's like, yeah, the climate's changing all the time. You know, you get the sun cycles that affect the climate. You know, we're gonna peak. Sun cycle's gonna peak this year, 2025, and then the sun's gonna go get a lot sleepier. So I think there's a good chance we're gonna see colder temperatures. You know, right now we got this cold, you know, down south here just because the sun's very volatile. So anyway, um, we've got this big deep freeze going on in the southern United States. You know, it's like it's fucking cold. Even here in my house right now, it's fucking cold because you really don't have to build houses here for cold because it doesn't get that cold. So yeah, you get this deep free, and it's across America. The northern states are totally fucking cold. So anyway, the thing people don't take into account with weather and climate is human consciousness. And that's one of the biggest things that affects the climate here on Earth. I think it affects the sun too. You know, I think human consciousness is it's the most powerful force in the universe. So I think we're having this deep freeze because people are just sick of the bullshit. You know, and one cool thing that I love about cold weather is it just calms people the fuck down. So it makes people sit still. You know, it's a very North American thing to just be, you know, to be stressed out because it makes you look more successful. You know, like the busier you are, the more successful you look. And, you know, especially, you know, Massachusetts where, you know, I grew up and where I lived for, you know, several years before, you know, moving down south here. You know, like in Boston, people are just like they're fucking vibrating and they're just like, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so successful. Oh, I'm keeping so busy. You know, and it's like it drives you nuts to be in a room with these people just because they're like they can't calm the fuck down. So that's one thing I like about cold weather is it just calms people down. And it's like, okay, sit down, shut up, take a break. So I think this cold weather coinciding with the Trump inauguration, it really just, I think it kept the rioting at bay because that's another thing about this whole Trump golden era thing, golden age thing. I still think, you know, the establishment, deep state, whatever you want to call it, you know, well, specifically the specific deep state who backs his opponents as opposed to the one who backs him because there are different deep states. And deep states are just groups of corporations that use their influence to get what they want. So anyway, the deep state that is behind, you know, backing, financing, giving the orders to Trump's opponents and his enemies, they still have fucking tricks up their sleeves they haven't pulled out yet. I think they're going to be largely unsuccessful, but they can make a mess. So I think with him getting inaugurated in the middle of this cold weather, it was just like, it's very much to me like an omen or like, an augury. It's like the language of the gods that's telling us, what human consciousness is willing into being. So I think the majority of people in the United States right now, they don't want fucking rioting. They don't want a bunch of drama. They don't want a bunch of social justice warrior drama. They just want to get back to their fucking lives. They want the inflation to go down. They want their businesses to thrive. I know I do. It's like been tough. It's been tough with the astrology readings, my acupuncture business. It's like people are fucking broke. Um, so people want to go back to living their lives without all this fucking drama. So I think the cold was a godsend. So I learned that phrase, the cold sword of the North. I heard that from Thomas Sheridan, and he used that phrase to describe the Ace of Swords. So couldn't find a good Ace of Swords image to use as a thumbnail because it's the wrong shape. But if you look up the Ace of Swords from the Rider Waite tarot deck, it's a sword, being held by a hand coming out of a cloud. And, the tip of the sword has a crown around it. And this sword and crown is sort of floating over like a mountainous, wintry landscape. So, the crown is like it symbolizes the pole of the earth, the North Pole. And, the swords are an interesting suit. The sword is intellect, it's mental clarity. It's the ability to cut through extraneous details to get to the heart of a matter. And then two, swords are made of metal. When you go into the metal phase, aka the metal element in Chinese feng shui and Chinese medicine, metal is a yin element. Metal pulls heat out of things. So it's like, if you make yourself a cup of tea and you put a metal spoon in it, you dump the hot water in there with the spoon in the cup. The spoon's going to pull a lot of heat out of the water. So metal is a cooling element. It absorbs the energy of fire. So I think this card really, it captures the immediate time we're living in very well. Because for one, it's this icy air coming in from the north, into the very southern United States, causing snowfall. It's also right now, it's the ability to have mental clarity and just be like, okay, what's going on here? It's like if you're somebody who's not fully out of the narrative yet, it's the ability to just chill out and say, okay, what the fuck is going on? Wait, why do these people want me on their team so bad? And when you see something in the news, it's the ability to say, wait, why is this new? It's like climate change. There are paintings from what? The late 1400s of London, where the River Thames is fucking frozen. And people have marketplaces set up on the ice. Children are playing and running on the ice. The Thames doesn't get that cold in modern times, but it did before. It did in the 1400s. We get these warming periods and we get cooling periods. It's like, in the Viking era, they were calling Newfoundland fucking Vinland. There were wine grapes growing. That whole, the maritime provinces in Canada and Maine, they were calling Vinland. So there were fucking wine grapes growing. Newfoundland today, North Atlantic icebergs they float right down to the coast of Newfoundland. So Newfoundland's fucking cold. There's no wine grapes today. It's not Vinland anymore. So you had different warming periods and cooling periods. The 1600s, like when my ancestors moved from France to Canada in the 1600s, it was a cooling period. So it's up and down all the fucking time. So climate change is like one of those things. Like when you see a hot button issue in the media, you have to say to yourself, why is this new? Like, why do people want me to think that this drama, whatever it is new? So the Ace of Swords, that energy helps with that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I just kind of wanted to check in and give some of my observations here. But yeah, this cold weather is just it's keeping people from rioting. If we were having a warm winter, I think we would have seen some rioting over the whole Trump thing. There was some lame ass protest in the Capitol. It just fell apart because everyone was cold, and it's like, oh yeah, you're super committed unless it's cold, huh? So cold weather has been a godsend. Not a Jehovah send, but from the gods as I see it, the way I look at it. Everybody's got their own opinion. I don't think I wanted to say much else, but yeah, I haven't been on here much because it's like there are new developments, but it's kind of the same old shit. It's getting fucking boring. It's like how I waited 15 years for the fucking scamdemic to happen because when I was a little junior intelligence officer, a more senior one told me about the whole fucking thing in 2005, and he was like, in the spring, and he was like, yeah, and if they come out with injections for it, don't get them. They're bad news. Um, so I waited for that for fucking 15 years, and I've been waiting for a lot of stuff for a long time. So it's fucking boring. So it's like, to me, just keeping up with, ooh, look what Donald Trump said. Ooh, look what Barack Obama did. Ooh, look at Vladimir Putin. Ooh, look at Elon Musk. Look at Joe Biden. It's just like, it's so fucking stupid. American culture has been this like entertainment culture for a long time. Definitely from the 1950s, but even before that, you know, you look at the 1940s, America was dead set on being neutral in World War II. FDR was getting elected on that. They were trying to create incidents violating American neutrality. The Germans sunk, I think, at least two American warships in the Atlantic before Pearl Harbor. And the American people were like, said to the government, well, stop violating your fucking neutrality and your ships won't get sunk. They weren't buying it. Then they allowed Pearl Harbor to happen. And that got Americans on board using, power of mass media. And in 1941, they had screens. So that was screens in mass media was a big game changer. Going from newspapers and pamphlets, books, things like that, and having people watch screens. Screens hypnotize people. You can hypnotize people a little bit with print media, but the delivery is so slow that it's just not the same. The degree of hypnosis is not as strong. So my whole point with this, with bringing the motion picture into media, they got a lot of people to join the military after, they were all about American neutrality in World War II. So the whole World War II recruiting drive, it was pure fucking vanity. Guys were like, oh, I want my sweetheart to think I'm a big sexy hunk. I better join the military. Could be cannon fodder. America didn't have to draft until it was pretty well into 1944. I think what was it? I think some of the guys at D-Day were conscripts. It's like if my grandfather hadn't like shattered his leg in an industrial accident, he might have been one of those poor fucking bastards. He was a native French speaker too, so that's like double trouble. As far as getting sent to the front line. So yeah, World War II was the motion picture industry helped get people on board with it. And a funny thing about World War II is that within the World War II generation, like the World War II veterans, the guys who were like airplane mechanics and truck mechanics and potato peelers and bakers and pencil pushers, they fucking hated the combat veterans from World War II. And what these guys would do, these wannabe heroes who just, were like mechanics and bakers and clerks and all this shit, they would gang up on the combat veterans. So the combat veterans would basically hide. They wouldn't talk to anyone about what they did. It's like, maybe the medals they were awarded. Nobody talked about that because the wannabes would fucking gang up on them. So it's like, yeah, the wannabes were like, they joined up for the vanity. So yeah, America, and it was the entertainment of it all. And the entertainment was like, oh, you're gonna have an adventure saving the world. So yeah, America has been this big fucking entertainment culture for a long time. So, but yeah, this Ace of Swords energy, it gives us the potential to cut through all that and actually see things clearly. So I think, my last little message in this, I think I'm gonna change the direction of this channel. And the predictive astrology, I've been playing this like predictive astrology game, but I've been doing it kind of half-heartedly because it's like, yeah, it's interesting, but I kind of don't give a fuck. Um, I'll still chime in on big things, but I'm not really feeling the monthlies, but when we have some big conjunctions, some eclipses, I'll be on here talking about astrology, but I think I'm going to be talking about the gods, especially the Germanic Norse pantheon. I'll be talking about the runes, more about magic, just getting into things I'm more interested in because I give a fuck right now for politicians and business leaders because we get some big changes coming that not even these people, can avoid with all their power and influence. So yeah, I'm gonna stop this under a half hour, but thank you to you guys who jumped in today, who liked, and thanks to everyone who'll see this later. I'll be back. Have a good one. If you're here in the southern United States and you're in the deep freeze, only be a few more days. We'll be all right. And be thankful for the cold because it kept the rioting down. All right, take it easy.